guys, it's Angelo, and as we continue diving into the Discipline Priest, today we're having a look at the disc's legendary rankings for Antorus, the Burning Throne. With new legendaries released this patch, the effectiveness of some legendaries has decreased, while that of others saw a significant bump in value. The legendary dynamic has changed for us, and in this video we'll have a detailed look at what currently works and what doesn't work so much. As with my Shadow Priest legendary review, I will split our legendaries into 3 different tiers, starting from the lowest in value and effectiveness, so legendaries that aren't as strong for us, to highest in value and of course effectiveness, arguably our top legendaries. Now we do have 2 new legendaries to look at, and seeing as a lot of people who play Discipline Priest perhaps don't play Shadow Priest, I will go over these new legendaries again in detail. Both are very strong picks, and we'll discuss how they work and why they are as strong as they are. Good, now without any further ado, let's go right ahead and have a look. As stated just now, we have received 2 new legendaries with patch 7.3.2. If you haven't been keeping up or playing the Discipline Priest ever since patch 7.2.5, you may want to take a look at our previously newly received legendaries with that patch, which added the Soul of the High Priest, Celumbra, the Knight's Dichotomy, and the Inner Halation. All 3 will be discussed in their respective tiers in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say this so that we're all on the same sheet of music here. Patch 7.3.2 added the Insignia of the Grand Army, which is a pretty neat stat stick and also increases the effectiveness of our Netherlight Crucible traits by 50%. Amantul's Vision is probably more familiar to many of you, as it is our long-awaited new legendary trinket, which is essentially a hugely buffed Arcana crystal that allows you to gain the Grandeur of the Pantheon or Empowerment of the Pantheon buff, increasing your intellect by 6,700. This effect can occur more often the more people in your raid have this trinket, or the according epic, weaker version of it for your spec. The Insignia of the Grand Army is rewarded through completing the Death of a Titan quest, which requires you to kill Argus the Unmaker in Antorus, while Amantul's Vision is actually a drop from that same boss, so Argus, on a regular, low, legendary drop chance. What to also keep in mind here is that both of these new legendaries will be at item level 1000 automatically once they drop, while your old legendaries can be upgraded to item level 1000 through an Awoken Titan Essence. I do want to add as well that Amanthul's Vision does not compete in the 2 legendary restriction mechanism and can be used no matter how many other legendaries you're wearing. This gives the legendary an insane amount of value, as it is not limited to a combination of legendaries, and can be used to its fullest potential in every given situation. Now, with these things in mind, let's go right ahead and have a look at our list, shall we? Now, to begin with, let's have a look at those legendaries that aren't as strong for us, unfortunately, which are found in Tier 3. In it, we have Norgannon's Foresight, the Boots, Celumbra, the Knight's Dichotomy, our crafted shoulders, Nero, the Band of Promises, one of our rings, Inner Halation, our shoulders, and Estel, Tejana's Inspiration, which is our chest. Norgannon's Foresight is unfortunately just a bad legendary overall, and seeing as Disc is already a quite mobile healer, with Penance, Plea, and Power Word Shield all able to be casted on the move, this kind of takes away from the legendary's effectiveness on the spec. Celumbra, the Knight's Dichotomy, isn't really meant to be a competitive legendary, and therefore simply serves as a mediocre stat stick, while it's effectively not truly competitive at all. Nero, the Band of Promises, can actually be strong when your group is stacked underneath your power word barrier, but the odds of this happening often enough to make the legendary effective during one given fight are quite slim, and on top of this, the only fight that really requires you to stack currently is Varimathras, or at least for long enough to again make this legendary valuable. Inner Halation, our shoulders, grant us power infusion for 9 seconds after using power word Radiance. Where in theory this sounds pretty cool and pretty good actually, it is not very strong due to the reason that the effect won't actually help your overall healing throughput much, nor does it support your mana pool at all. Its stats are okay though, so it's not the worst legendary you could possibly use. Lastly in this tier we have our chest, Estel, and this legendary can actually be pretty good if used correctly, but it does require you to use Plea more frequently to spread atonements, which is not always the best idea due to Plea's low base heal. In tier 2, which is our medium tier, we find ourselves with Skjolder, Sanctuary of A-GON, which are the bracers, the insignia of the Grand Army, the new legendary ring, the Cord of Maiev, our belt, Xalan the Feared's Clench, our gloves, Kam-Xirav, our helmet, and Zephyr's Secret, another one of our rings. In this tier, honestly all legendaries are perfectly playable, with the bracers being very strong for single target encounters and the insignia of the Grand Army being a beautiful stat stick with a decent effect as well, especially once you have most if not all of your crucible traits unlocked. The Cord of Maiev proves to be good because it's a strong healing increase, interestingly enough because it allows you to do more damage. Due to the legendary's chance to reset the cooldown of your penance through casting Smite, this does mean that penance takes up a higher priority with this legendary, as you'll want to be using it on cooldown, and whenever the proc appears, in order to make use of the legendary's great effect. Xalan the Feared's Clench is strong because if used properly, you can actually stack up its effect really high, allowing Atonement to be on a lot of targets throughout pretty much the entire fight, without having to refresh it manually. This however requires you to actually heal with your penance and to keep penance on cooldown, and on top of it, preferably not waiting to use it at all, so using it right away when it gets ready is essential. Kam-Xirav comes with pretty neat stats and with an okay effect. The reason I list this in tier 2 and not tier 3 are honestly its stats, as its effect can situationally be good, but Light's Wrath is on a too long cooldown to really make this legendary overly effective. On top of this, you will have to spend a lot of mana to prepare the legendary's effect for most of the fight, which in itself already costs just as much mana, if not even more, than you'd be gaining from it really. Zephyr's Secret is probably the most solid choice in our mid-tier really, as it can be procced with a simple dispel every 30 seconds and buffs both our haste and our movement, which works wonders in most encounters you would be facing. On top of this, it comes with great stats which help in making this legendary a brilliant choice. Finally, we reach tier 1, which consists of our best legendaries in most situations. These legendaries consist of Velen's Future Sight, which is one of our trinkets, the Soul of the High Priest, our class ring, Pridus, Xavaric's Magnum Opus, which is our necklace, and Aman'Thul's Vision, our other legendary trinket. Velen's Future Sight is definitely your best legendary due to its decent stats and absolutely superior effect. The legendary will always be the strongest to use, no matter what fight or situation really. The Soul of the High Priest lets you take 2 level 15 talents, which means you can combine Twist of Fate with Castigation, which gives for a great combination. Pridus, our neck, is strong because it offers great stats, high survivability, and allows you to have a higher healing throughput for the entirety of any given fight. Aman'Thul's Vision is, as I've mentioned earlier, so strong because it does not share a usage restriction with other legendaries, allowing you to combine Aman'Thul's Vision with any other 2 legendary combination. This, along with its excellent effect, which will proc more often the more people in your raid will start having one of these Pantheon trinkets, will definitely let this legendary be one you will want to use pretty much all of the time as well. Now, to conclude our review, a lot of our legendaries, similar to those of the Shadow Priest for example, are not strong enough to make them competitive currently. But not so much because they have bad effects or stats, rather because a very small group of legendaries, so for example Velen's Future Sight, or Pridus, or the Class Ring, or even Aman'Thul's Vision, and arguably a few others in given situations, are just so much stronger than the rest. The choices you have for decent legendaries is perfectly fine though, and most legendaries you can receive will allow you to be sufficient in any raid or Mythic Plus group. Now, as always, if you have enjoyed this video, a like would be appreciated, and if you'd like to see more of my content in the future, feel free to subscribe. As always, have a good one my friends, and I will see you all in the next one. A lifetime in repeat.